Welcome to all of our listeners and anyone watching live in the forum. I am Grace Rizza, and this is our very first episode of Marketing with Rizza. And really, the reason that I'm starting this is there are so many people that I'm connected to on social media and in my day-to-day life that have something unique and special to share with our industry and to share with the world. So I just wanted to put something together where I could, for the first time, interview these people and find out what they do, what makes them special. And today I'm very excited to have Dr. Ben Sutter here with me. Hi, Dr. Sutter.
Hi, Grace. How are you this morning?
Great. I'm really excited because we're going to be talking all about DTR, its importance, and really how you can help to change people's lives. So let's just jump right in. Tell me about a little bit about what you do. And I know that we talked a little bit about DTR, but tell me a little bit about what that is and why it's important to you.
Sure. Well, first of all, I'm a general dentist. Traditional bread and butter dentistry is done in our office, from cleanings to fillings and crowns. But specifically where DTR is concerned, it is a splintless TMD therapy. So DTR stands for disclusion time reduction. And so the only way you can reduce that is first you have to measure it. And this is a coronoplasty that is computer guided. And so just like anything else that's been digitized in medicine or dentistry, we actually serve our patients better and ourselves, because I think it holds us to a higher standard. And this is evident. The practice go from tabletop books to a computer schedule, or you go from film x-rays to a 3D cone beam. You see more, you can diagnose more, you can be more accurate. And the occlusion is no different. When you can see more, you can be more accurate and ultimately serve your patients better.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to share this on my personal profile as well, and I've got a lot of friends and family. So what is DTR in layman's or consumer terms?
Sure. So to answer that question, we have to back up just a little bit. And so when you look at how many people are affected by TMD or the signs and symptoms of TMD, and that's a large umbrella because it could be musculo-occlusal related, it can be joint related, it can be skeletal related, but this is a specific therapy for correcting occlusion. So it's really not going to help us with like a severe class 2 patient or an anterior open bite. Although those patients still need help and need to be treated, this therapy is like any other therapy. To be successful at it, you definitely want to consider, your case selection. So people that are suffering from neck tension, shoulder tension, face pain, headaches, ringing in the ears, vertigo, the list of symptoms is kind of like 47 or 50 items long. But those are some of the big ones. And so there's multiple ways in which you can treat these patients. And so one would be ortho. One would be full mouth reconstruction, although not my first choice unless there's very severe wear. You could do all sorts of acrylic guards or a neuromuscular orthotic. In the acute phases, you could use a deprogrammer, an NTI device, or Botox injections or pharmaceuticals in the short term.
So for the patient, it's really about figuring out what's causing their pain?
Well, it's very interesting when you've been doing this for a decade. You start to see a lot of things over and over and over, and you start to see patterns. And so the list of symptoms is quite astounding, but really what interests me is what other diagnoses are coming in the door. So for example, I've seen patients with Meniere's disease, trigeminal neuralgia, migraines, chronic headaches, cervical dystonia. And when you measure and go through our protocol, you start to see that, well, somebody might be off 70% on the left and 30% on the right. And so whether that's true cervical dystonia or not, they're starting to manifest these symptoms. And it's only when you have a computer and you can really look and quantify and put a number to it that you can say, well, even if it doesn't do anything for your cervical dystonia, I would be very cautious about the long-term viability of having 70% of your bite on one side. It should be more 50-50, or within a couple of percentage points, maybe 5 percentage points. And so some interesting things happen when you correct the bite. Some skeletal structural issues get corrected, people's postures change, improve, and symptoms start to abate or disappear completely.
Tell me a little bit about the process as a patient.
Sure. So the body wants to reach a homeostatic position where everything is kind of in equilibrium. When your bite is off, you're automatically compensating and adapting to that bite. So once you correct it and the muscles start to relax, you have this sense of, wow, I feel really, really relaxed, but now my bite feels funny. Well, that's true, and we need to be patient with that as we correct it, because anytime you're used to what's abnormal, that's how you developed. Sometimes nature doesn't even get it all right. But when you correct, the jaw tends to relax and come down and forward a bit. Well, your bite just changed. So you have to be aware that that's going to happen and anticipate it. So to answer your question, it's usually 3 or 4 visits. Sometimes it's 5 or 6, depending on the severity of the case and how long somebody's been suffering. But usually my first appointment is pretty long because I lecture on this and I teach other dentists how to do this. I measure a lot. So the first appointment is a couple of hours, but the actual treatment phase is probably anywhere from like 15 to 40 minutes. And, we're using the computer and we're measuring in between each adjustment. So of that 40 minutes, 20 minutes of it is going to be measuring and the other 20, adjusting. But it goes fairly fast and there's no anesthesia with this. And what makes this different than, I would say, build an orthotic or a bite guard of some sort is, even if you had a perfect orthotic, you still have to take it out to eat.
Yeah.
And so you go back to the pathologic position, chew your food, brush and floss, and then put the orthotic back in, or the night guard or splint or whatever. And so it's really important, and I think people get better faster if they're not oscillating between a physiologic bite and or a pathologic one. Mm-hmm. So when you build it into the teeth, it's there 24/7. It's there when you eat. It's there when you're working on patients or you're watching TV. And so I've tried a lot of different therapies to help my patients, and DTR is absolutely the fastest thing that I've ever seen.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking too. I mean, my mom actually was having pain and suffering from TMD for a really, really, really long time. And she went to a lot of different dentists, and one finally just made some adjustments on her bite. And I don't know that it was this exact process, but
Sure.
Did something that the other dentists couldn't do or didn't do. Sure. And it was fairly quick. It was painless. And now I don't have to listen to her complaining about her pain anymore. And sure. it literally almost instantly changed her life. So it's something that I know a lot of people might be listening and saying, is this something I'm getting FaceTime call, but is this something I really need? And or I really need to offer, or this is something that every dentist does, right? They might be thinking that. Well, I can tell you firsthand, it's not. It's definitely not something that everyone is doing to the fullest, because I know if I went to a family party, and our family parties are huge, probably 80 people there, and said, how many of you have had your dentist, assess your bite? And even though it might have happened, the patient doesn't know that it's happening.
Right.
They don't even know that you're doing it. They don't know what it is. So of course, I'm always thinking about marketing a little bit, and how can we get this, take this message and educate our patients and let them know that this is even an option, or that this could
Yeah.
even be the cause of some of their pain and their problems. So, but it definitely starts with educating the dentists, and making sure that we're constantly looking for ways to improve ourselves, even as a business owner, always looking for ways to improve ourselves. So if there's someone out there looking for, tell me a little bit about your training, and then how you're helping the dental profession embrace this process.
Sure. Well, let's see. Going back, so how did I stumble in on all of this? So I initially started some training in TMD with LVI. It was the first time I had gone to a course where they were talking about measuring muscle and what kind of joint sounds were there, and let's measure the range of motion. Well, this just absolutely made sense to me, and nobody else was talking about it. And so I kind of went in hook, line, and sinker, and bought the equipment and finished the continuum. And a little bit later, somebody came to me, Mark Montgomery came to me and said, hey, if you're not using the T-scan, you're missing a hell of a lot of data. And so I went and took a course with Mark, which was the precursor to TrueDenta. It was called the Perfect Bite Doctor. And, he was right. I was missing a lot of data. And I was under the assumption that little black dots mean something. And they really don't, other than two teeth have touched there. But you really can't quantitate force or timing with articulation paper. So I kind of was scratching my head there, and I'm like, well, wouldn't it be really nice if somebody kind of made the EMGs and the tech scan bite analysis kind of one technology, so you know what the muscles are doing as the teeth are actually being used. And I didn't know it, but that technology was already there. TechScan and BioResearch had been working together for, years at this point. But it took me, a couple of more years to kind of stumble along and find Robert Kirstein, who is my mentor. And I had him come in the office, do some in-office training with me. And next thing I know, I started posting some success stories like I had seen some other friends do. And I got called and said, hey, we want you to come to Texas and do a course. Well, that was never an intent of mine, but I called up Robert and I'm like, I don't have 30 years experience with the T-scan. You have to go to this course with me. And we went down there, and it's kind of snowballed into this an interesting course where doctors are interested. But one of the kind of funny things that's come out is, Robert's been publishing for 30 years on this treatment. It's not something new, although it kind of may seem new, but it's really being driven by the patients, not by the science, and certainly not by doctors who are like, I need to learn this. I need to get this in my hands. And so, yeah, I think anyone who is interested in occlusion should own the T-scan. And I don't have any financial obligations or benefit of making that statement. But it's so much bigger than TMD and pain, because most doctors, and I think it's a fair statement, most dentists do not want to treat TMD patients. They weren't taught very well how to do it in dental school. And I'll speak for myself. I went to a very good school, but that type of training wasn't there. And occlusal training, it's boring. Occlusion is not sexy, like cosmetics or, or, reconstruction or restorative. So
So we can title this the unsexy part of dentistry.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But it's so much bigger than that because occlusion drives and helps us with cosmetics, full mouth reconstruction, implants. Did you know that there's a paper, and I just came across this about 3 months ago. There's a paper that if you have an implant in and it's overloaded by 180 microns, it'll start to fail. How do you measure 180 microns with bite paper? How do you measure 180 microns?
I don't.
Yeah, I don't either. It's tough. I can't without a computer, but that it's the timing sequence and to make sure that that implant is not overloaded.
Tell me a little bit about how our listeners can learn more about this, how they can get the training necessary to be really confident and be treating these cases, and financially, because I'm a marketing person, I'm a business person. How is this going to benefit the overall financials of the practice as well?
That's a great question. So, first part of the question is how would I go about learning more about the technology and how to execute? Well, you have to take a course just like anything else. And, you know, the tech scan is a tool. It's no different than buying a hammer and expecting to automatically become a home builder just because you own a hammer. You have to take some courses, you have to get some training, and then you have to have some confidence in, hey, when I expect to do X, I see Y, and that's happened a number of times now. So um, the next course is at UNLV. It's going to be in Las Vegas this November on the 17th and 18th. If you want to take a course, Robert and I will both be teaching that course. And then as far as, well, how do I market this and how is this going to benefit, what's my ROI on this? And am I going to be able to help my patient? And I think, it comes down to, again, what can you do with bricks? Well, you can build a school or you can build a prison, and it's all in the mentality of the user. So as far as marketing goes, man, and it doesn't just go with DTR, it goes with anything that you're doing. If you're doing cosmetics or you're doing implants, and start making some YouTube videos. Those things work 24 hours a day. I get calls up and down the East Coast, the West Coast, from Seattle all the way to Southern California over to Colorado. And people want to come here. And there are people that do what I do in some of these locations, but because they've seen, 10 or 15 or 30 videos that I've made, there's some identity with what I do versus somebody that they missed in a Google search. Mm-hmm. So I would say as far as marketing goes, that would be something that everybody should learn how to do. Making a video is pretty easy at this point.
Yeah. Well, the marketing, Dr. Sutter, I could go on and on about the marketing for this. Tell me about once you bring someone in for this kind of treatment, or they come in and you realize that they do have issues that could be resolved with this course of action. Does that lead to more dentistry? I mean, of course, I'm not looking for an exact financial number, but I have seen some services in the past that people say, well, yes, we offer that, but we're not going to market it because we barely make any money on it, or, it's just not the main focus. This, to me, it sounds like it's a foundational piece. And without it, potentially, how could you build even a cosmetic case? Or it just seems like a very important foundational piece of the process. And I could be completely wrong, not a dentist. So.
Sure. Well, I would say, that is absolutely a true statement. And let's just forget about pain for a second. I mean, even if you're doing cosmetics and you're doing crown and bridge work and full mouth reconstructions and implants, you're going to want to make sure your stuff doesn't break. I mean, what does it cost a dentist to do a veneer 3 times because the bite's not right. Or if a patient does an excursive movement, they have an interference. Wouldn't you rather know that before? I mean, because, and I'm speaking from experience, because I know that if we're all going to be honest with ourselves, that there are dentists out there, very smart people, who, when you're in the dental chair, tap, 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 yeah, doc, it feels good. 2 weeks later, they come in, that crown you just put chipped. Well, must have been the lab's fault. Wait a minute. Your lab's been your lab for 7 years. How was it the lab's fault? What are they doing different? We missed it. And we missed it because we made some improper assumptions. So, there's some smart guys that are on your Facebook page that know exactly what I'm talking about, and use T-Scan. And I would venture to say it would probably be a safe bet that if they're using it when they're installing restorations, that their incidence of breakage is going to go way down, just because you're going to be aware of things that people who don't use the technology will never see.
Awesome. Well, thank you. So you've got, it sounds like your dentistry has a longer shelf life. It has a smaller failure rate, a lower failure rate, and it's all about doing it right. And that's great marketing in and of itself. People do experience, they're quick to write bad things online if they're unhappy or if something fails. So if we can minimize that failure risk, why not, right?
Sure.
So, well, I just want to
Oh,
say,
absolutely.
how do our listeners or viewers go about signing up for your course?
Sure.
They could
Well,
comment.
3 ways.
Yeah.
One, you could call what's that?
I said they could just comment on the video if they're watching it.
Oh, sure. So, you can contact the office. You can find me on Google, Ben Sutter. The receptionist can guide you. There's a website, dtrcertification.com. When you go there, there'll be a list of upcoming courses, and there's a PayPal link. And I either email or call every doctor that registers. And the third way would be to either email me or get in contact with UNLV. This is going to be in Las Vegas at UNLV School of Dental Medicine, and we just did one in May, and it was a really good. Actually, that was an international course. We had people that were there from Australia, Brazil, India, Canada. The dental profession is starting to take notice on digital occlusion,
Mm-hmm.
and it's exciting. It's real exciting.
It's awesome. Well, I am happy to be able to spread the message and share your message as far as I can. And if anyone's interested in getting more information, feel free to reach out to me as well. And if you're someone who's sitting there listening thinking, boy, I would like to talk to Grace about my business and what I'm up to, reach out. It'll be fun. We're going to build a lot of useful and beneficial content. So thank you so much, Dr. Sutter, for being on my show today. And I hope this is one of many conversations we have in the near future.
Thank you, Grace. The honor was all mine.
I will talk to you soon. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you. You too.